Boy, it keeps saying current bit rate is lower than normal rate, but I don't know what that means. I'm going to take a picture of it so I can look at it. Hello and welcome to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. It's time to get started. Always a lot going on in the automotive industry. And along with me, as always, is Les Jackson. Hey, Les, how you doing?
Oh, couldn't be better. Couldn't be better, Fred. And we've got, as you know, a whole bunch of new stuff to talk about. It's been a week, so the whole industry's changed.
That's right. All the players have changed, for sure.
That's right.
Well, we're going to continue on with the Nissan Saga that just doesn't seem to end. It got a little weirder this week. Rumors of a Tesla rescue. Now, a lot of people are thinking this was just something Nissan did to boost the stock. It was not really based on any reality, but we'll talk about that. And then it came out that Honda supposedly had more demands for Nissan to team up, including scrapping all their hybrids and all their hybrid technology, as well as their CEO.
Doesn't Honda know when to lay out?
I don't know.
The deal is over. Well, anyway, we'll talk about that.
They said if you get rid of your CEO, come back to the table. We'll talk about it.
Okay. If we burn your house down, we'll come back to the table and talk.
I think it's just, they're putting big requirements on that nobody's ever going to do it.
That's right.
So,
Anyway, and over at Jeep, is the next generation of Compass dead? Well, maybe. And the limited edition Wrangler Backcountry gets revealed. This is a new name of a model.
Yeah.
Interesting. Everything is off-road.
Special editions are a big thing in the Jeep world, and we'll talk about that. And then what are some of the most reliable vehicles for your money? This is great information if you're going out to make an investment in a vehicle and spending $40,000 or more. This is great information so you don't make the wrong choice, right?
Well, yes. But then again, you get people that complain because their windshield wipers aren't cleaning properly or chatter. And anyway, but we will definitely talk about those vehicles. There might be a couple surprises there. And Mercedes wants to electrify its V8s and build a baby G-Wagon.
Yeah, not all in the same time. They want to electrify their V8s and build the G. I don't know if the baby G-Wagon will have a V8, but we'll have to talk about that. The G-Wagon, of course, was a military vehicle that became popular.
That's right.
So
I have never been a fan of the G-Wagon in any way. I think it's overpriced.
Okay.
Obviously, other people don't because they're buying them.
Yeah. And then it looks like the new design for the Camaro won't be happening anytime soon. Apparently, there was a business meeting, and they said this has no business case. What about that, Les Jackson?
Well, we weren't really expecting a new Camaro.
There was some talk
Uh,
of an electric one
there,
that.
right. There was a talk of an electric one, but with that name. But again, nice looking car, very good car, but the present, well, now past
Passed.
Camaro was an outward visibility nightmare.
That's right. That's right. And I'm sure we'll get some hate mail there from
We
some
probably
Camaro
will.
fans, but that's the way they like that. But all that and more is coming up on Cruise Control. A lot going on. Let's jump into our first story. A lot going on with Nissan, Les. It's almost hard to keep up with this. There's so much going on. But the big news, I think one of the big things this week was Nissan talked about some of the requirements that would have been needed to get the deal through with Honda. And one of them was completely dropping their e-hybrid system. They said that's no good. We have better stuff. You drop that, forget about it. And I think they took on a bossy tone with Nissan, and that didn't go over well. And I think maybe it was done on purpose to kind of sway people away from making this deal. What do you think?
Well, I think so. And I think it was designed to basically cut Nissan off at the knees,
Mm-hmm.
to make them desperate and willing to do anything. And it didn't work.
No.
And I think it's unfair of Honda to do that.
Well, I hate to sound like a broken record, but when the CEO of Honda is asked what are the best things about this deal with merging with Nissan,
Yeah.
he's like, I can't think of any. You
Yeah.
never want to hear that, like, hey, so what do you think about hiring Fred? What are the good points he has? Can't come
Well, I
up with
don't know.
anything.
And by the way, that you've been giving that quote since before Thanksgiving,
That's right, and
and it
it's
hasn't changed.
no, it hasn't changed. It's an honest quote. It's like, yeah, I don't really know. So what happens to Nissan? There was a report this week that the Foxconn thing, they're not sure about that. What's
Well,
going on with that? And then it got really bizarre. Apparently, someone on the board of Nissan said, well, we ought to just reach out to Elon Musk and Tesla and say, it would be really good. You could use some of our plants. It would be a good tie-up. And it really, I think it was just, what do they call that? A Hail Mary pass in
I think so.
in football. Yeah.
I think Nissan's plant engineers could teach Tesla a lot.
You mean how to have trim not
producing
fall off and
vehicles.
stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, but aside from that, I think a very good rule of thumb at the moment is don't reach out to Elon Musk to do anything.
Yeah, I don't. It was Reuters kind of pictured this as a picture of utter chaos in Nissan, and even Musk said, "Well, I'm not really interested in that, and I don't. It would just be space. I don't need your plant per se. It's not going to work for what I build."
True.
And so he just basically said that's not a thing. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
So
But perhaps his board might think otherwise.
well, I'm beginning to think, and I hate to say it, but I'm beginning to think unless they turn this ship around, and I don't know how you do it, that they may sell off the assets of Nissan here. And with tariffs coming up and that, not Tesla and Musk, they said they're not interested, but there'll be plenty of people looking for plant space, traditional plant space, and I think
Yes.
they will be able to sell off their assets.
How about, well, I don't know what percentage of Nissan's products are sold to the rest of the world, certainly in Asia.
Oh, you
It's a
mean like
heavy,
just pull out
heavy.
of the U.S. market?
I'm thinking pull out of the U.S. market until you build up some strength and then come back.
Interesting. I don't know. I mean, we looked at some of their sales numbers, and they were really terrible. Terrible. Can you imagine, though, that Honda telling them, well, scrap your hybrids? They don't have that's a big, probably a big faux pas on the point of the CEO. They went with their own e-hybrid system that they developed in-house.
Yeah, that's right.
Probably would have been better to team up with maybe Honda on the hybrid technology.
Well, it just seems to me if you want to build a hybrid, you go after the guys that have been doing it now
Toyota.
for 30 years.
Yeah.
And you make, you partner with them, because
like Subaru
why should
did.
you reinvent this?
Right.
It's great technology. It's exactly what Musk did with SpaceX. He didn't invent the rocket ship or any of the 80-year-old technology that NASA gave out for free.
Yeah.
He just took it and ran with it.
Yeah.
So why not do the same thing? But anyway.
Do you think Nissan's going to make it?
I think if they left the U.S. market and concentrated on the Asian market, they'll make it. Will they ever be able to come back? I don't know. Personally, I'd love to see them come back. I'd love to see them come back as Datsun.
I know everyone says that they still want that.
Well,
a lot of comments on our social media. They're like they should have never changed their name from Datsun.
Never. And I've been saying this for 40 years.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't know why they decided to do it, to change it to Nissan. But anyway,
can you come back? Can you come back? You look at Suzuki. They have the Jimny. Everyone loves the Jimny worldwide. Right. And it's a fun-looking vehicle. It would be great to have it here. But will Suzuki ever make it back into the U.S. market after they left? They had a decent presence there. Not like the size of Nissan, but it was decent.
It was... Right, but the Kazaki.
That
was the last.
Yeah. No, that's the Polish car.
Kazashi, yeah.
Yeah.
They had the Aereo and the Kazashi at the end.
Yeah.
They're both very good cars.
Yeah.
But talk about a small market.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing is, could Nissan downsize and team up with some other people, and sell a very limited floor plan of vehicles? I mean, nobody's talking really that much about what happens to Mitsubishi. They're kind of like swinging out in the breeze here. Good play for them to get together with Nissan when they did. I think it improved their products. But they've kept that floor, that kind of list of products down very tight. I don't know. I don't know whether they'll survive either. They, of course, Mitsubishi. It's sort of like Subaru, right? Fuji heavy industry. Mitsubishi has lots of different things going on besides cars.
Why couldn't Mitsubishi? Why couldn't Nissan leave the American market but provide Mitsubishi with an SUV, the Murano? And a couple very, very good selling Nissan products, and they just are labeled Mitsubishi.
Yeah. The thing that gets me, if Nissan goes under, they are once again a full line manufacturer. Cars, small pickup trucks, SUVs, obviously, all the way up to large SUVs. This is sort of like, I'll give an analogy to TV. When someone says, we need the show to be 45 minutes, and right now it's 2 hours and 35 minutes, That's the type chopping Nissan needs to do. You're not taking out a word here and there. You're not
Right.
saying, "Oh, I'll take out that soundbite." It's like there's an hour, drop that. you know,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
what they
Sure.
got to do with the cuts, and we talked about that they probably will be doing that with the cuts, huge cuts, which is sad, people losing jobs and things like that. But
Yeah. I
I
just
still
hate
think
seeing.
Infinity should maybe go away. Um,
I
I
agree.
I don't know what that's like around the world, if it has traction around the world. Um, Tighten up the lineup. I don't know. I don't know. And then plus you have tariffs coming in. So really they have to build everything in the US if they want to be positioned for tariffs. So I just don't know if it's a winnable situation.
I don't either. I'm glad I'm not involved. I'm glad my career isn't involved in it.
Yeah.
Um, but we both want to see it
Yeah.
survive.
Yeah,
However, you know,
it may not it that may not happen, but we'd like to know what you think. Send us a link, send us a message, I should say, and let us know what you think. Will Nissan survive? Another case, there's Z. I still say this all the time. I don't see them anywhere. I don't see
I've
anyone driving them.
not one, not one.
And that was to be a big Halo car, and I just think it disappeared. So um, I don't know. I think the best thing they got going now is the kicks. That's a good deal.
The
But
kicks, yeah, the kicks and the Rogue and the Murano.
yeah, yeah, no, but no hybrids um, at all. Which I go back to it. That was probably a bad, really bad move on their part. They had that e-power hybrid system. I'm wondering if the hybrid Rogue will even make it to market. So
Um, I don't. Well, probably not.
yeah, yeah. Well, let's move on and talk about a new model or a new trim from Jeep called Backcountry. Of course, it's based on the Wrangler. Great blue color in this vehicle. And it is a new limited edition. And Jeep does a great job at this. Just like Mustang does a great job at making special
Yeah.
editions, Jeep does a great job of this. It's based on the 4xe uh, Wrangler, and it enhances and enriches the Wrangler XE Sahara, which is a great trim in its own, by combining new comfort features like a 9-speaker Alpine audio system, 4xe exclusive Jeep power box to power accessories, and aggressive 32-inch General Grabber AT tires and front and rear steel bumpers. It's limited to 5,800 units for North America and available to order now at Jeep dealers and U.S. manufacturers. Here's we talked about people trying to make vehicles less expensive. This is not one of them. The MSRP is 64,290.
Oh, come on.
Now,
That's my gosh. The profit level and that has to be record setting.
I'll ask you this, Les. Do you think dealers are going to mark this up? It's a limited edition, but in reality, it's a special color. It's a Sahara with a few more things in it. Do you think it will be a big markup on this, or do you think
I
they'll just?
I don't think so, and I don't think so because the Jeep aficionados, of which there are many, already own Jeeps, own Saharas, and they may buy it because they just want the little features there, but a whole lot of people who might want it aren't going to pony up 60 grand plus. And I have a technical question for you.
Okay, I'll
When
see if
you're
I can.
driving this thing, whether the windows are up or down, and you've
Right.
got your 32-inch grabber tires,
Right.
how do you listen to the Alpine sound system?
Well, I would say since it's the plug-in hybrid mode, make sure you've got that 21 miles of range electric going, so you won't hear the engine. It's not going to keep the tires quiet, but at
No,
least you
it's
won't hear
not.
the engine. Um, and I always say, who would have thought when the Jeep was brought out that you would have a touchscreen and a
Well,
and
yeah,
an Alpine stereo? Uh,
yeah.
I could see maybe 32-inch tires. Someone might say, "Oh yeah, it's for severe off-roading," but and leather
Well,
seats.
remember when we saw the Jeep Sahara? Was it the Sahara at the New York Auto Show about 2003? That special new color,
Tan, that tan
the
color.
tan, the desert tan.
Hmm.
Um, that was a big deal, and I remember it just had an AM FM radio stuck in the dashboard.
Old school, yeah,
It was, it's a Jeep. It just comes with noise.
yeah. It's a basic vehicle, but it is beloved. It
It
is be
is that. Oh, I see them around here all the time.
and interesting fact about it. It was one of the most purchased vehicles for young women in Manhattan, and
I
and
can't imagine how that could be the case,
it
but
seems odd. It seems odd because you're not going to take the doors off and go for a spin around Central Park in your Jeep or do some off-roading. I don't know why, but I do remember a lot of young women driving
wow,
Jeeps in
wow.
Manhattan, and you'd see them parking, and that I would think that that's a weird choice, but okay, people like them. It's I definitely always get a feeling that of you're in a very capable vehicle when I'm in that. I also remember when they started to redo the interiors and make them more car-like, and there was pushback on that, and it hasn't stopped because now they have
No,
the big screen and all kinds of things. Who would have thought you have a wireless charger in a in a Jeep, right?
that's right. But again, everybody gets used to all of the new technologies, and typically the owner of a Jeep that's not the only vehicle.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
what's once again,
anyway,
this is called the 4xe Backcountry. 4xe is the plug-in hybrid version, and this is the Backcountry. They're only going to make 5,800 of them, and it kind of builds off the Sahara and offers exclusive digital in-vehicle features for apps like geocache apps for geocaching,
right?
Wi-Fi hotspot, Jeep
Adventure
off-road
guides.
pages, yeah, and more. And limited to 5,800 units, 64,290. Is this the vehicle for you?
Wow.
Well, let us know. Let us
Only
know here at
only
Cruise
if it
Control.
has a active lifestyle button I can push.
Yeah, I think you could mount up a kayak on there. I'm almost certain.
Oh, I have no doubt. I gotta have but it's gotta have a kayak on the back, on the top, and
Okay.
a trail bike on the back.
Okay.
Um, and you have to be able to tow a motorcycle
Tow a motorcycle on an off-road trailer. Yeah.
on,
The
yeah, on an off-road trailer.
the big thing now is the off-road campers, those teardrop
Yeah,
campers
yeah.
where they are lifted up and they have like heavy-duty suspension, bigger tires, stronger wheels, and
Imagine,
it goes with the Jeep.
yeah, imagine everything in the refrigerator.
Well,
Reminds me of the Top Gear when Richard Hammond had had his
caravan.
caravan and all the stuff just flying off the shelves.
There are people that tow those trailers. They have two kayaks on the roof and a bike rack
Man,
on the back. And in
well,
certain states, you could tow a boat behind it as well. You can have two trailers.
the, hey, look, if you enjoy that, that's just great. Have fun.
Hey,
Have fun.
Well, let's have some fun and talk about IC Cars study, a new study, the most reliable cars for your money. This is good information if you're headed out to make that big
Yeah.
purchase, right?
Well, of course, you should research what you think you might like to buy
Mm-hmm.
before you go look at it to make sure that what uh, what you're buying isn't sitting at the bottom of the list in reliability, like
Right.
Tesla uh, and Range and Land Rover and
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at the list. IC Cars, 15 most reliable. So let's do the top 10 best new cars. And there's also crossovers in here, but there's a lot of cars too. At number 10, the it's funny they call it the Mazda 3. Sort of like a take on
Yeah.
Zoom Zoom. Once again, a good deal. It starts average list price 27,735. Expected lifespan 10.6 years. Price per year 2,608. Pretty good deal, right? Mazda 3.
It is. It's a good deal. That's a good deal. And number 9 is the Kia Soul.
Yeah,
Very popular. Very
I
popular.
I remember having one of those. The last one I tested, it was not even the top of the range model, but it had. I thought I could be happy with this. Everything is there. It had a good infotainment system. It had enough power. It had good storage. It had like an attractive interior with cloth seats. And sometimes you think cheap and cheerful, that might be okay, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
20,
And it's a lifespan of 9.9 years, 23,860.
yeah. And of
Man,
course, you're not limited to 9 years. If you change the oil and do basic
no.
maintenance, it would probably last much longer than that. One vehicle here that is a big leader and will be getting
Yep.
rethink, a complete re-engineer. Toyota RAV4, average list price 35,258. The best-selling vehicle in America, and it's a good reason for it. It offers plug-in hybrid capability or hybrid capability. Probably they'll all be hybrid in the next generation. I remember driving it, the hybrid version. I thought the gas gauge must be broke. It's not going down, but it was a
Yeah.
fairly
No, and
large two-row CUV all-wheel drive, and it got like 38 miles to the gallon, which is
it really delivers,
yep.
and people love them. 14 and a half, 14.6 years.
And kind of cheaper to operate, price per year, 2,411 than even the Mazda 3. So you're operating an all-wheel drive vehicle
Yeah.
and getting a good price. What do you got up next?
The Honda CRV, which of course is a direct competitor with the RAV4.
Our most expensive one on the top 10 list from IC Cars, right?
Yeah. And that's 36,000, and it's 15 years. It's the greatest time factor there, interestingly enough. About the
Okay.
same amount per year as the Toyota RAV4.
Yep. And then number 6, the Mitsubishi Outlander Sport. A lot of
Yep.
things going on with Mitsubishi, but this is a well thought out vehicle. It keeps getting updated. I know they have some updates coming up for this year. 28,250, a good price for an all-wheel drive. I'm assuming that's the all-wheel drive model, so they don't really break it out here. Lifespan of 11.8 years, which is the average time many people are keeping their vehicles, and $2,400 per year to run. And then you have number 5.
Yes, number 5 is the Subaru Impreza wagon. Everybody loves Subarus, especially your dogs, and
The Barclays.
it's very, very popular. 26,900, 11.2 years, very much like the Mitsubishi.
Yep.
Less than 2,400 a year, but by $1.
Well, there, I'm buying that, and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
making them
so
stick
yeah,
to
by
it.
all means.
Um,
But
great.
let's, you can't knock it.
No.
The Impreza is great.
Yeah, yeah. And are they stopping Impreza though? Aren't they stopping?
I think so. I think they're moving over to the Crosstrek.
Yeah. Honda Accord number 4, 30,695, 13.1 year lifespan, $2,339 to operate. Great vehicle. Also, the hybrid version of it. I don't know whether they're saying this is the hybrid version or non-hybrid version, but the hybrid version is almost a 50 mile per gallon car, and it's a big car, and it's a nice car. So, what do you got at number 3?
Absolutely, and for
Mazda 3,
the Mazda 3 hatchback. Hatchbacks are fun cars. Period.
They're not popular though with a lot of people. I don't know why. I've had hatchbacks for a long time.
I don't know why either. They're kind of the best of both worlds things, but then again, it's not going to appeal to a Jeep with 32-inch wheels owner.
No, no, that would look.
But anyway, 31,849 and 14.1 years lifespan. That's, you're considerably older after 14.
Well, Toyota Corolla number 2, 25,218, 11.6 years. You can go well beyond that with a Corolla. And price is $2,166. This is the IC Cars top 10 most reliable cars. And I'll give the number 1, Honda Civic. No surprise. Corolla Civic. On top, Civic, 27,564. Expected lifespan, 13.7 years. The good point here, Les, is these are all well below the average $45,000 price.
Yes.
Well below them. I mean, the most expensive one is $36,000. So think carefully when you go out to buy a vehicle. You don't have to spend $80,000. You can get something well under $40,000 that is good, right?
And you should. You shouldn't feel that you have to spend the average, which is $48,000. That's a heck of a lot of money.
Is it 48 or 45?
No, overall average is 48,106.
Oh wow. Okay.
That's scary. I don't.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for sure.
You can have your entire kitchen replaced for $48,000.
It's true, depending on the finishes you get. Yes, and the appliances you buy. Yes, that is true. That's is certainly true. They also broke out for new hybrids. We won't go into the whole list.
Yeah.
Number 7 is a vehicle that's going away. I think it's a mistake for Ford to get rid of it.
Wonderful vehicle.
But the Ford Escape Hybrid, 38,116. So what's interesting is price per year, $4,791. It's not fuel cost, but what is it?
Well, it's everything. I guess it's the cost of ownership and
insurance.
And the number 6 is the Lexus RX 500H. That's $72,000.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
That's an average buster.
Yeah, and it's $4,583 price per year. I just think, do you really need to spend all that?
Yeah, and one of my favorites here, the Hyundai Sonata Hybrid, $36,000. They only say it lasts 9.1 years.
Well,
but once again, these are very small. The numbers, it's really small. So, and then just moving up, for hybrids, I'm surprised that the Toyota Corolla hybrid is not on here because I think that's a good value. But Number 2 is a Toyota Camry hybrid, a great vehicle. They're all hybrid now. 35,471. Right. Very solid car. Lasts for 13.2 years. And Toyota Prius, number 1.
Of course.
34,333. Lasts for 13.
Deservedly so.
I still think the Toyota Corolla hybrid's a great one, though, because, it's if you don't like the aggressive aerodynamic styling of the Prius where the windshield comes way back, the A-pillars come way back, the Toyota Corollas gets about the same mileage, pretty less expensive, and it has a little bit more of a traditional shape to it.
Yeah. So. I've never been a fan of the Prius shape. I know that they did it to just
aerodynamic,
to discern it from the regular vehicles. But I've never liked it. To me, it's sort of it's just a unattractive shape.
Okay.
Put it that way.
All right. Well, there you have it. That's from iccars.com. They kind of talk about some of the top vehicles. Big deal, though, really. A lot of them are well under that 48,000 number, and that is something you should consider when you go out because it's a big deal. It's a big deal. Hey, let's go over to Mercedes. Mercedes is in the news this week. For the first story, they're talking about electrifying their V8s. And this is an interesting story because we talked about V8s, people wanting V8s, BMW sticking around with V8s, in their case, naturally aspirated V8s. Mercedes, though, is saying that they're going to electrify their V8s and keep them around as well. So there. So there, BMW. I'm sure this story was in response to BMW's story, don't you think?
Well, I think so, and obviously these are high-priced cars, so they can afford to throw a lot of technology into them, which they do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I like the idea. I think anything that makes them more efficient and presumably better overall mileage, do it.
Well, also, they've gotten some heat for AMG models with turbocharged 4 cylinders in them. And as BMW discussed, they said they found that their customers would rather have a V8 with less horsepower than a turbocharged 6 or 4 because they want the V8 sound. And this is a way, by electrifying them, to keep them in the lineup. I wonder if Dodge will do something like that. Get a hybrid V8 or whatever to get the mileage up, but keep the V8 sound.
It's very intriguing.
I think that might be the way forward. I think it might be the way forward. So, but speaking of Mercedes, the G-Wagon. The G-Wagon, they were going to stop building this, and then it became very popular. And they're not only not stopping the production of it, they might actually build a baby G-Wagon, a smaller G-Wagon, and because I think there's a market for it. They have no plans to change how their vehicles look. They're going to have that dramatic style, kind of military style, the square box, square greenhouse. But a smaller one might be in the works. What do you think of that?
That's, to be honest, I mean, that's fine. I
love the turn signal. It's like a boat light.
Turn signal's great. I've just never cared for the G-Wagon. I've always thought that they were really, really overpriced, and this is at least better looking.
Yeah,
than they've been in the past, to me.
Well,
but
this was a German military truck,
It was,
basically.
yeah, the Galanda wagon was, no, not way back, but in past decades,
Yeah,
uh,
post
it
World
still
War
is,
II,
isn't it?
certainly. I think post World War II is when it came
Yeah,
out.
post World War II.
Yeah, you sit very truck-like in them, very upright. You feel
Yeah,
like you're steering a semi, but it is something that is beloved by many people. They see it as aspirational to get this. I work with someone that had their whole cubicle covered in this, and that was their wish list to get that.
wow.
And
Um,
I said, well, it's not the most comfortable car to drive, and it is
no, actually,
incredibly expensive.
I drove, one of the $130,000 ones about 15 years ago, and I thought it was terrible. It was, it was noisy. It was very uncomfortable, the seating position.
Right.
Um, but it's really popular. I actually drove it, and don't be judgmental here.
I'm not
I
judging.
drove it to a steeplechase for for uh, for having a picnic on the tailgate, and you might expect, Fred, that I was a fish out of water.
Yeah. Well, what do you think of a smaller version of it?
Well, I think that would make sense. And what's that? But what's the? Because it's not a big vehicle to start with. But
No, but I'll tell you, as soon as I read this, I thought this is like the H3 and I think there was an
yeah,
H. Was there an H2? There's
H.
an
Oh
H3.
yeah, the H2 and the H3.
Yeah. Take the same square box and shrink it down a little bit, put a smaller engine in it. One was based, I believe, on the Colorado, wasn't it? The H3, I think it was. Yeah, H2 was the big one. H3
H
was the
right.
one
The
based on
H3
the
was,
Colorado.
yeah.
Um, but that's the theme, and I guess they feel that there is a market. They got to get the price down. I mean, that's just
Um, yes.
so. I think that's
Yeah.
also a great profit area for Mercedes.
Oh,
What do
it's
you think?
enormous. I mean, it has to be.
So
So that's fine. If
you
people
know,
love it and want to pay for it, that's fine.
well, one vehicle that might not be available or making a comeback is the Chevy Camaro. This is an interesting report from GM Authority, which cites sources familiar with the matter. I like that. Sources familiar with the matter.
Sources familiar. Yeah.
Apparently, there was a big meeting at GM, and they had to come in and make a business case for this. This was kind of slowly developing, and it was blown apart because they were told it didn't make sense from a business standpoint, and sales and profitability figures simply didn't add up. This is according to the
Right.
GM Authority sources. And GM can't afford to bring the Camaro nameplate back just to please its enthusiasts. That's what they were told. So it's been shelved. And of course, the sixth generation was shelved in 2023. So what do you think? I was thinking about this. Now, there's just one real pony car right now, and that is the Ford Mustang with the
True.
5-liter V8. You have, can you even call the new Charger a pony car? Not really. It's kind of big, isn't it?
Well, no.
It's a sporty
Um,
car.
it's certainly sporty, but it's still a large car.
Okay. Um, my thought is, how could you save the Camaro? And I'll go back to um, sort of what was happening with Shelby and the GT350. Could someone build the Camaro, one of these small volume, could GM license it to one of these small volume builders and they could make it. Take the old body stampings and make a version with that.
I guess they could, but you need to actually produce the bodies.
Well, they have the stamping for it yet, right?
They do have the stampings, or the stamping machinery. For when they used to make the Copo Camaros.
Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking. Somebody make them a small volume, and that law that was passed that they don't need to do all the testing and things like that.
Right.
They could. So would GM ever do that? I'm thinking they don't really think out of the box, GM, and
No.
it's not a corporate thing. I would think about it like, how could we do that? How could we license it for the meantime, and of course maintain our rights to eventually go back
to make an enthusiast's aspirational limited production model. But GM's Pentagon type multiple levels of management structure just doesn't they just don't go for this stuff. The fact that they actually created the Corvette 70 years ago is still a surprise.
Yeah, that must have been because the people at the top loved it.
Bunky Knudsen.
And even with that, they brought it out with a straight six because they thought no one would want to go fast in a Corvette.
That's right. Well, not one of those, but
I would have that like emblazoned on my dashboard, like the quote, like, well, no one would want to go fast in a Corvette.
Exactly.
A 6 cylinder is perfect.
Exactly.
So I don't know. I do have a Corvette story for you, though. This is interesting, and let your mind run wild here. Starting February 24th, the Corvette production line will halt periodically for 4 weeks. And this is according to a Chevrolet spokesman that spoke to Motor One. And they have a weird name for it. For project improvements. We're halting for project improvements. So there's a rumor going around that they may bring back a couple of different things here. A couple of things they're thinking could happen. And they're thinking the Grand Sport could come back. So the Grand Sport would be the Z06 body, but with the Stingray engine, let's say. That's what it was in the past.
Okay.
And there's another thought that the row of buttons might go away and the interior might get a change up. I won't call it an upgrade because if you like the row of buttons, you might say, well, you know. So what do you think? Just prognosticate on this for a moment.
I think, yes, I think that I think they will do this, and I think this could have been the subject of maybe some very heated discussions in the recent past that might have precipitated several people leaving or being told to leave.
They would be mad that they're making the Grand Sport?
No, but that they're doing something else.
Okay.
That we don't know what that is.
All right.
But like
we will find out.
Like a Cadillac Corvette.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I know who you're talking about. I don't think they'd be upset, would they? I don't know. I don't know. It's not something I'd be like, well, let's see it. What is it? And we will find out eventually what it is, but
certainly. But the Grand Sport has always been popular.
Yeah, I mean, you basically got the wide body. It was like a wide body Stingray. Yep. You had the traditional Stingray engine, which is plenty, always plenty, and I think, but obviously not everyone thinks that way. And then, the original thought was the E-Ray was the Grand Sport, that the E-Ray,
Right.
which Harlan Charles came up with the name for that, the departed marketing
Great
guy.
name.
He
Great
came
name.
up with the name for that and had it copyrighted. But everyone thought that, well, that's it, because it's between the Z06 and the Stingray. And in the case of the E-Ray, it's actually got some real upgrades besides cosmetics and wide body kits. It's got significant, almost the same horsepower as the Z06,
yeah, a lot
and
of
all-wheel
stuff in
drive.
the E-Ray.
Frankly,
Yeah.
if I had the money to buy one, I would think about that, because I like the concept of all-wheel drive and the extra horsepower. And
a Corvette you can drive in the snow.
I would put the
not?
big 36-inch tires on it and a lift kit, wouldn't you? There are people that do that. There was a Lamborghini that did that, which I don't know. I'm only kidding about that. I do like the all-wheel drive though
especially for a car like that.
Yeah. So
just think of the handling. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's jump over to Kia. Now, this is great. This is the PV5. This is an electric van, and Kia is getting into this. They revealed this. Great people hauler, great potential cargo hauler, all electric. Actually, a nice-looking van, I think.
It actually is a nice-looking van. I mean, it really kind of looks like the Soul.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah. And it also looks practical.
Yes. So
and kind of happy.
I like the cargo version with no windows in the side. I think that looks cool. It just looked like I want to make it a custom van,
Yeah.
They're saying that this is sort of like their ID Buzz. Obviously, it doesn't have the tie to the past, but it kind of has the same form factor, right?
That's right. And Kia is really going out there, and they've got an increasingly large following.
Yes, and already we call them a full line manufacturer. They're adding more things to this. So it's a cargo design, it's a passenger design. There's even a small pickup truck version of it, which seems like it could be incredibly handy to companies. And I just like it. I like the look of it. I like the we got to get a cargo one and come up with a name on the side like the.
That's right.
That's what I would do, to have it like the 70s vans. Remember that?
Absolutely. And we'll have far more details about this in 5 days when it's released on the 27th at Kia EV Day in Tarragona, Spain.
Yeah, I won't be attending, but we'll definitely report on it.
No, I won't be there. I think it's time for companies to kind of get back on that old, van. Not the van of the minivans of the 90s, but the van days.
Well, I mean, the head of Stellantis said he wants a van. He wants a regular van to come back into the lineup. So maybe this is a trend. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is a trend. I think people want to get shag carpet.
Fantastic, man.
and put their guitar in there and just not drop out, but
yeah, have a well, vans are always good. I mean, I had a van, and it was like I could haul anything, man. 3 rooms of furniture in a full-size van, But I'll ask you this. Do you think these are all electric? Do you think they will, the way the world is going, put a gas engine in it? I think yes.
Yeah, I think so. Kia is one of those companies that, will just put anything in anything.
Yes.
If it makes sense.
Are you interested in buying it? We'll make it. We'll make it. So
That's right.
it's the first modern van design that I've seen that I actually really like. I mean, I love the ID Buzz, but that has, more of a background to it, more of a history to it.
That's right. It does, and it's doing it very, very well. I mean, it's really pulling in the attention.
How about this? Talking about retro, Yugo is potentially making a comeback.
It's going to be a hard slog up the ladder.
There are some drawings released of this. It sort of looks like the Golf to me, in a way. It's not a bad-looking car. I remember during the Yugoslavian War, they said the Yugo plant was bombed, and nobody was too upset about it. Do you know in 2021 there are 408 of the original Yugos in the U.S. still registered and driving? And the real limiting problem was that there were no parts for them. I think this was a Fiat 128, wasn't it?
It was a Fiat 128 with some Trabant parts in it.
I remember the New York Auto Show. They were there.
Yes.
There was one guy, I'll never forget this. He had cardboard and was laying on the floor underneath the engine. I was there with my dad.
Yeah.
My dad says, "Is this guy going to do an oil change right here?" What is he doing?
Here in D.C. Back then, there were about a dozen Yugos that had stopped running, and the Corcoran School of Art students turned them into Yugo-based things. Like one of them was a big telephone. and one was a slot machine, and they were very, very artistic and inventive. They didn't run.
No, but I don't know. What would you repower it with? A Hayabusa engine. A lot of people, I think, like that idea.
Well, the Hayabusa engine is a whole lot of power.
And all-wheel drive. Turn it into a rally car, lowered down with all-wheel drive.
But parts would fall off of it.
Kind of like a vehicle we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is there room for it? Yeah, maybe. Who knows? The Serbian designer Darko Marceta is responsible.
Well, now I believe it or not, my wife is just bought a book. This guy is a tremendous designer. Beautiful, beautiful designs of stuff, houses, and I've paged through the book a little bit. It's a big book, but it's just spectacular stuff. So,
maybe there's something to this. They're gonna have they have those sketches, but the full size model will be released in 2027. They have model of the vehicle, full scale, at the Belgrade Expo in 2027.
Yeah, and I wouldn't. I mean, we laugh at the Yugo because if you lived through the Yugo era,
yes,
you would laugh. But the fact is, it's not going to be anything like that. It's I'm sure that they'll build very decent vehicles.
Do you remember the launch price for the Yugo, the old one? I have it for you.
I think it was like $5,100.
No, $3,990.
Wow, and worth every penny of it, Fred.
I remember at the same time, it was just like we're going through an inexpensive car trend now, relatively inexpensive, whatever that means. At the same auto show, I believe the Yugo was there with the guy changing the oil, and I believe that it was still at the old Coliseum in New York, and it was the first year for Kia and Hyundai, and I was like, wow, what a trend! All these less expensive cars. And I said the Yugo's the cheapest, but then there's this company called Hyundai, and and this company called Kia, you know?
And they were built to take the subprime loan market.
Okay.
For people who just couldn't
It's pretty bad if you
afford
need to get a loan to buy a Yugo.
bad credit and all that. And let's face it, the cars for Hyundai and forget about Yugo, but Hyundai and Kia cars were not particularly good
No, big rust problems, major
through the
rust
90s,
problems.
but they left the market. They went back to Korea. They built the biggest factory in the world
Right.
at the time with zero faults allowed on the assembly line.
They really
And
changed
look
it
what
up.
we have.
Yep, exactly. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this edition of Cruise Control. Time for me to say I'm Fred Staab.
I'm Les Jackson.
We are going to see you down the road. Take care.
Bye. Imagine